First Things First is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolf alongside Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wilds. It is Tuesday. A lot happened in the world of sports yesterday to talk about. What's up, Brandon? Did I miss something? Just saying hi?
He's just waving hello to America.
Oh, it was an extended good morning. Wilds, you look great with your tie.
I just need a little consistency.
I
think it looks silly.
Much like Baker Mayfield, Kevin Wilds a little inconsistent with when he decides to when to wear his tie. Why don't we do that? Let's start in Cleveland with the news that we all feared yesterday. Odell Beckham Jr. lost for the season with a torn left ACL. For Odell, this is the third significant injury of his career. Head coach Kevin Stefanski addressing OBJ, his injury, and where the 5-2 Browns go from here. Take a listen.
And Odell, the energy he brings to practice, the energy he brings to games, you can't, no one else is going to be able to bring that type of juice. But it's our job to find the guys that can go compete, that we can go put them in spots where they can succeed. And I think we'll be able to do that. That's not easy. I don't want to have to do it. And I'm very disappointed for Odell. But that's the nature of this beast, and injuries are part of this game, and doesn't mean any of us have to like it, but we do have to deal with it.
So, Brandon, you look at this team and the impact that Odell had in the early going, probably not as much as he would have liked. He was starting to gain traction when he did have this injury. So now look at the Browns. How much do you change the expectations with this team because you've now lost OBJ for the remainder of the season?
Well, I mean, a lot changes, right? Like, this is a great player. And first, you don't want to see this. But coming into this year, we knew that there was going to be a lot of injuries. We knew there was going to be a lot of soft tissues. Obviously, knee injuries, Achilles injuries. Those things are definitely happening at an alarming rate right now because of no offseason, no OTAs. However, I think that the Cleveland Browns can potentially be better. Not because Odell's not great, but really because they had no chemistry between the two of those guys, Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. There was absolutely no chemistry. It wasn't a good fit. I know this as a player when we're specifically talking about the Cleveland Browns and how they move forward. When you have a dominant number one wide receiver, it puts pressure on everyone in the building. If you're a dominant number one receiver and you ask for the ball, you don't ask for the ball, there's this feeling inside the building that we got to get this guy the ball. What that happens is the play caller can't call the plays freely. The quarterback can't drop back and go through his progression and make the right decisions freely. They have this pressure of, I have to get this guy the ball. Now, when you look at an emotional dominant number one receiver, you think as a quarterback, when I get to the sidelines, what do I have to deal with? Is this guy going to check out on me? Is this guy, will he potentially get emotional and explode on me? So there's so many things that go through a quarterback's mindset. So I think they get better. You got a guy like Higgins standing on the sideline who has great chemistry with Baker. The last 3 games, he's thrown the ball to him 11 times and he's caught in has 10 receptions. So going back to 2018, he has chemistry with that guy and then also Jarvis Landry. So I think that the Cleveland Browns get better, Nick, because of the lack of chemistry and continuity between Baker and also Odell, and that pressure isn't there anymore.
So I don't totally disagree with you. And what I believe is this. I think the Browns are going to be fine for the regular season. I think that the Browns, because their strength is their pass rush and their running game, and where Baker has been at his best is on those play-action intermediate throws. And you should be able to not miss a beat in your pass rush, not miss much of a beat in your running game, and still have those intermediate play-action throws with or without Odell. So in that regard, I think the Browns will be okay. But this Browns team is going to win 10 or 11 games, which means they are going to be in the playoffs. And in the playoffs, against the best teams, the ability to have a #1 receiver that can dictate coverage or that can beat a Marlon Humphrey or a Marcus Peters one-on-one, or can get Jarvis easier matchups, or can force the other team out of playing a stacked box because you need safety help over the top. The Browns are not talented enough, and Baker is not yet, and it's yet to be seen if he ever will be, good enough to beat really good teams on his own without having some systemic edges. So I think over the course of this regular season, Wilds, you're not going to see a major drop-off. And in fact, the Browns, their next 4 games, bad news for Jenna Wolfe, the next 4 games the Browns play, they are going to be favored. They are at home against Oakland, Houston, Philadelphia, and then they're at Jacksonville. And then late in the year, they get both New York teams. So even if they can't beat the Ravens, Titans, and Steelers, they're still going to win 10 or 11 games. So I don't think you're going to see a huge drop-off, Wilds, in their win total. But when they get to the playoffs, and they were going to do that with or without Odell, I think that's when his absence will really show up.
Okay, so does it matter necessarily, Nick, when you say like they should be concerned in the playoffs? If the playoffs started today, they'd go to Tennessee. Maybe they beat the Titans if Mike Vrabel doesn't pull any of his chicanery. And then they'd probably go to Pittsburgh and lose. And I would actually consider that a winning season, wouldn't you?
Oh, listen, making the playoffs for the Browns, even if they lose the first playoff game, is a massive step in the right direction. And I do think there is going to be a question if they do win 10 or 11 games and make the playoffs without Odell, assuming he rehabs well and is fully healthy. If Baker looks better the second half of the season, I think, Jenna, there will be a question over whether or not, because he's still a valuable player in this league, they'd be better served getting a different player or a pick for him that is more conducive to what they're trying to do than trying to kind of force this fit, which hasn't been seamless thus far, Jenna.
Nick, will make a side bet with you, 10 or 11 games. I don't know about that. Let's take a turn, though. First, talk some Monday Night Football. Rams taking care of business behind a pretty solid performance from Jared Goff last night. 219 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. And, man, that Rams defense had the Bears offense looking lost all night. Brandon, back to you. The 5-2 Rams, contenders or pretenders?
They're definitely contenders. Last week when Nick revealed his NFL team's tiers, what do you call that thing, Nick? What is that thing called that we're talking about tomorrow?
Right tiers.
NFL teams tiers.
It's the right tiers. 8 a.m. tomorrow, updated. The right tiers, updated tomorrow at 8 a.m.
I like that.
Okay, great. So remember, last week when you revealed it, there was 2 teams that I didn't agree with, that, you know, and when you looked at that tier of dangerous, flawed but dangerous, there was the Cardinals I thought should have moved up, and also the Rams. And the reason why I highlight the Rams, because this first part of the season, offensively, they're getting back to who they are. They're getting back to running the football. See, they have this disguise. They have this mask on, and they make everyone think that they're this prolific passing team. But the reality is what makes them good and go is that running game. Now, they don't have Todd Gurley, but they do have 2 or 3 running backs that get it done. They are running the ball better than they ever have in franchise history. And then obviously, you know, they're playing good defense, one-on-one, and also getting to the pass catcher. Aaron Donald, as we all know, is a monster. He's a beast. He gets to the quarterback whenever he wants to.
Here's the problem, Brandon. Brandon, here's the problem. They're wearing a mask because they don't like what their face looks like. And so the reason they're pretenders is because they know their quarterback play is not good enough. They do all this smoke and mirrors. They dress it all up because they, much like San Francisco, are trying to protect themselves from their quarterback. 5-2 looks great. When you dive into it further, while the win last night was a great one, the other 4 wins come against the NFC East. And so I can't. Could this team maybe
but
make
this is
the
your
playoffs?
team, though, right?
Maybe.
Wasn't the Chicago Bears your team? That's your team, so they beat your team, Nick.
Yeah, that's a good win. That's a good win. Well, the Bears aren't my team, but they're the team that I, of course, was right about,
because you have the Chicago
while the rest of the nation was wrong about.
Ahead of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That's correct. Yes, that's correct. They beat the Bears, and that's a good win. One game does not all of a sudden, Wilds, make me believe this team is a contender. This team is not a contender.
Yeah, I'm going to come up with a brand new idea after the break.
You know who else could be a contender or pretender this season? How about the New England Patriots? When was the last time we asked that question? We'll talk Pats, we'll talk Cam Newton, and we'll let Kevin Wildes talk.
Let's take
next.
this
First
morning.
things
Yes, my idea coming up. Stay tuned.